Came home early and overheard my wife bragging about cheating on me with my best friend. So I left without a word. But what happened next broke me. Hey everyone, I'm Alex, 30M. And honestly, I don't even know where to begin. The past few days, I've been living like a ghost. Everything I believed in, everything I built, it all exploded into a million pieces right before my eyes, and I wish I hadn't seen it. I truly wish I had never come home that fateful night. Before that, I had it all: a stable job, a cozy little house, and most importantly, I had Sarah. She's 29, and we'd been married for 5 wonderful years. Sarah was my destiny, my every breath. Before her, I'd gone through a brutal breakup that had completely shut down my heart. But then my angel, Sarah, appeared. She was gentle, brilliant, and always made me feel like the best man in the world. She helped me believe in love again, in the possibility of a real family. Waking up every morning and seeing her sleeping next to me was my absolute dream come true. And then there's Mark, my best friend. We've known each other since high school, going on nearly 15 years now. We were inseparable, like 2 peas in a pod. From our wild teenage shenanigans to our most crushing adult failures, Mark was always there with me. He understood me in ways even Sarah didn't, at least in some aspects. We used to joke that he was my past life lover. To be precise, Mark and Sarah were the 2 biggest pillars of my life, second only to my grandma. Yes, they even stood higher than my parent. They are that important to me after all. My life just drifted along, happy and peaceful, maybe a little mundane at times, but stable. I thought, yeah, this is enough. I thought I was the luckiest man in the world. Until last Tuesday night. That Tuesday evening, instead of going out with colleagues as planned, I drove home earlier than usual, feeling a bit under the weather. But that was fine. Picturing Sarah's surprised face when I brought home a late dinner made me happy enough. We were always like that, so sweet with each other. I opened the door quietly, wanting to give her a fright. The house was silent, save for the faint sound of music drifting from the kitchen. I tiptoed in, intending to surprise attack my wife, and then I heard Sarah's voice, seemingly on the phone. Her laughter in that moment sounded so strange. It wasn't the laugh she usually reserved for me. I froze in the living room doorway. At first, I couldn't make out the words, but then her voice grew a little louder, filled with a smug, boastful, and excited tone. Every single word, every syllable, they were like bullets fired straight into my chest. "You're amazing, Mark. I've never had anything like that. Yeah, that's right. Alex is going away on a business trip in a few days. You'll have to satisfy me 1,000,000 times more than I'm definitely going to drive you again." My entire body went rigid, the bag of Italian food in my hand. It dropped to the floor with a loud thud. Everything hitting the ground shattered with a deafening crash, like the sound of my entire world breaking apart. My heart, it pounded as if it wanted to leap out of my chest, accompanied by a chilling cold sweat running down my spine. I couldn't breathe. My eyes were fixated on Sarah's back. Hearing the crash, Sarah jolted, turning around. Her eyes, wide with surprise, quickly shifted to pure terror when she saw me standing there. And me? I just stood, staring right at her. Not a word escaped my lips. My throat was tight, bone dry. My entire body felt paralyzed. All I could do was watch that look. That blatant betrayal etched so clearly on the face of the woman I loved. I didn't even bother to ask why, because I knew one look into her eyes was all it took. I didn't need to hear another lie. I just pushed her, not hard, but enough to make her stumble. I turned and walked straight to my home office, ignoring Sarah's cries behind me. I grabbed my laptop, my phone, and a few other essential bits, stuffing them all into my backpack. Through it all, I didn't say a word. I didn't even glance back at her. I just walked straight out the front door, out of the house, and out of the life I once thought was perfect. And I left. Only the sound of the door closing behind me like a gunshot ending everything. My mind was a complete blank, a chaotic mess. I just drove and drove, aimlessly, not knowing where I was going. Eventually, I pulled into a rundown motel 100 miles from home. For the next 2 or 3 days, I holed myself up in that room. My phone rang incessantly. Sarah called and texted like crazy, hundreds of missed calls, hundreds of messages. She said she missed me, that she was worried about me. How ridiculous. All I felt was utter disgust. Then more people started calling, but I didn't answer anyone. All I wanted was to disappear. But then another call came through. It was Laura, Mark's wife. I hesitated, but then I answered. Laura's voice on the other end? She was sobbing, sounding like a lost child. She spoke, her voice breaking. "Alex, Mark, Sarah, I found out. He and your wife, they..." My heart ached again, this time with the surge of empathy, because I wasn't the only one betrayed. Laura explained that Mark had confessed to her. It seemed Sarah had told Mark that I'd found out, and Laura had seen the messages and pictures on her husband's phone. They were even more sickening than what I'd overheard. Mark had even bragged to Sarah about how he was cuckolding me. Through what Laura uncovered, their affair had been going on for nearly 5 months. 5 long months, and they had even agreed to delude themselves into thinking it was just a drunken mistake. "It wasn't a mistake, Alex," Laura choked out. "It was a choice, a deliberate calculation by both of them." That line from Laura, it pierced me deeply. It was exactly what I needed to hear to accept this brutal truth. After talking to Laura, I knew I couldn't hide forever. I decided to answer Sarah's call. Her voice was weak, pleading. "Alex, where are you? I'm so worried about you. I'm so sorry. It was just 2 stupid mistakes. I was so drunk, I didn't mean any of it." I took a deep breath. "Sarah?" I said, my voice cold as ice, even laced with contempt. "You're a good liar. Laura told me everything. 5 months, Sarah. It was 5 months, and you say it was only 2 times? And you blame it on being drunk? Are you still trying to play games and deceive me, Sarah?" Suddenly, her voice shifted, from weak and pleading to sharp, even brazen. "Don't you dare overreact. You never even paid attention to me. You were always so busy with work. You're the one who made me lonely. That's why I made a mistake. What proof do you have to say such things? What are you trying to achieve by blowing this whole thing up?" Hearing her shamelessly blame me like that, I wanted to scream in her face, but I didn't. I hung up, because I knew, at that moment, every word was pointless. Next, I called Mark. It took several tries before he finally answered. I growled, "Mark, do you have anything to say for yourself?" He was silent for a moment, then his voice trembled. Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. She seduced me." "Buddy," I said, my voice bitter and seething with absolute rage, "you destroyed my life. You know I always considered you a brother. I trusted you, and this is how you treat me?" And then they really showed how perfectly matched they were. That scoundrel Mark immediately spat out a vile comment that still echoes in my ears. "Oh, come on. You're not even a man, Alex. You're being overly jealous. Your wife came on to me. A man who can't keep his wife has no one to blame but himself." His words were laced with utter contempt. In that instant, I realized I had put my trust in the wrong people. One person I thought was the love of my life. Another I considered my soulmate. And now these 2 individuals were treating me with such utter disregard. But that wasn't the extent of what they were capable of. The very next day, there was no peace. She didn't just call. Sarah launched a full-blown smear campaign against me. Her messages flooded my phone, then spread to our mutual friends. She painted me as a crazy, paranoid man who constantly suspected his wife. She claimed I was magnifying a small mistake and blowing things out of proportion, causing our family's happiness to crumble. Sarah transformed herself from the pitiable culprit into the victim, seeking everyone's sympathy. It was disgusting. And then, the biggest shock, the deepest cut, came from someone I never expected. My mother called and said things I couldn't believe. Her voice was weak, urging me to forgive Sarah. She said Sarah was remorseful, and that family was the most important thing, and I should stop before things went too far. Hearing my mother's words, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning, standing there stunned. I struggled to explain, even telling her the whole truth. But my mother kept repeating the same words, saying she would talk to Sarah more. She even admitted she had vaguely suspected something when she saw Sarah and Mark at a party 4 months ago. Just never imagined it was this bad. My entire world collapsed again. All of them, every single one of them had lied to me. Even my own mother covered for them, callously letting me continue to live in that fabricated happy play. I felt like the whole world had betrayed me. I wish someone had just stabbed me dead instead. I couldn't bear the thought of living. I couldn't bring myself to trust anything anymore. Lying in that squalid room, I replayed every interaction. All the hugs and kisses, the intimate laughter shared with the angelic wife I still loved so dearly. Was any of it real? I wondered. Was this the first time she had betrayed me, or had she been doing this before, with others? And was I just the last fool to learn this cruel truth? After that, I agreed to meet Sarah. I wanted to confront her and get the whole truth. I chose a public, crowded coffee shop, and I brought Laura with me. She's Mark's wife, also a victim, and she deserved to hear everything, to be my witness. Sarah arrived, looking at me with teary eyes, feigning utter despair. "Alex, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I don't know what I can do for you to forgive me." Her fake sincerity made me sick to my stomach. I looked her dead in the eye and said, my voice ice cold, "Stop it, Sarah. I'm not here for your empty apologies. I'm here for the truth, the whole truth, not to hear more of your pathetic lies. I want to know everything, every single detail." She stammered, annoyance flickering in her eyes, but she tried to compose herself. I only met Mark twice, I swear. I just felt empty in our marriage. You didn't care about me anymore." Even now, she was still blaming me? My blood started to boil. Just then, the coffee shop door opened and Mark walked in. He saw me, Laura, and Sarah. His face registered a fleeting moment of surprise, but then he quickly recomposed himself, a smug smirk even playing on his lips.
He dragged a chair across from me and sat down. I didn't mince words. "Mark, do you have anything to say? How does it feel to stab your best friend in the back? Enjoying it, are we?" Mark looked at me, then at Sarah, a defiant look on his face. What are you gonna do, Alex? Are you gonna hit me? Do you dare?" That tone. It made me want to punch him square in the face, but I couldn't. I had sworn to myself I wouldn't lower myself to their level. I took a deep breath. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I placed it on the table, pushing it towards Sarah. "Do you know what this is, Sarah?" I asked, my voice catching. "This is what I prepared for our 6-year wedding anniversary. I planned a surprise party, just the two of us. I wanted to show you that you were still everything to me. You were the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with." Sarah stared at the box for a long time. Then she looked at me. Suddenly, tears began to stream down her face. I didn't know why. Were they crocodile tears or regret for what she had done to me? Whatever it was, I couldn't trust this woman anymore. Just then, Laura couldn't hold back any longer. She placed her phone on the table, opening her photo gallery. "Here, Sarah," Laura said, her voice icy. "This is what my husband and you did. The messages you sent each other. Every single detail. Did you really think no one would ever find out?" Sarah stared at Laura's phone. Her face went ashen, drained of all color. She had no words left to deny it. Finally, she crumbled. Yes, I was wrong. We met. Every time you went on a business trip, each time I went out with your friend." Her voice was weak, but every word she uttered was another knife, twisting deeper into my heart. Mark sat beside her, his face pale, unable to look me in the eye. The ugly truth. It was finally completely exposed. Immediately after that, I filed for divorce. I thought it was over. The evidence of the affair was undeniable. What more could there be to say? But no, I was terribly mistaken. Sarah, the woman I once thought was weak and fragile, has now revealed her true fangs. She hired a shark of a lawyer, someone completely devoid of professional ethics. They began to fabricate all sorts of outrageous accusations against me. They claimed I was abusive, that I controlled her to the point where she had to seek freedom elsewhere. They even made up stories about me being financially oppressive, not letting her spend money freely, blah, blah, blah. It was all lies. Yet in the eyes of the court, I was quickly becoming a violent patriarchal husband. Every time I went to court, listening to her lawyer spew out those lies, I felt a lump form in my throat. I wanted to scream, to pound the table, to pull out proof that they were brazenly lying. But my lawyer kept advising me, "Alex, stay calm. Anything you say right now can be used against you." How could I stay calm? I felt like I was about to explode. The divorce battle dragged on endlessly. Money just vanished. I had to use all my savings to pay for the lawyer. But then, the day I received the final court verdict, do you know what? I still couldn't believe it. The court ruled against me. They said that there was no concrete evidence of the affair, as it was all based on confessions during our confrontation and private messages, and Sarah's lawyer had expertly manipulated with her false accusations. I,
the betrayed husband, was left with a massive debt from loans Sarah had secretly taken out in my name, plus an unfair division of assets to her. I lost a significant portion of what I had painstakingly built over many years. I stared at the verdict paper, my eyes blurring. The feeling of being trampled, drained, disrespected, it was like a dull knife, slowly carving into my heart. Painful, lingering, but never quite severing. And then, the most painful thing happened. We had to sell the house. The home that Sarah and I had built together for a happy future with children. Now I had to sell it. I couldn't afford to buy out her share, and I didn't want to live in a house filled with those fake memories and betrayal anymore. As I locked the door for the last time, I felt like I was locking away a part of my life. Everything I once believed in, everything I once loved, was now just ashes. I lost my home, I lost my money, I lost my wife, I lost my best friend. I lost the entire world I once belonged to. After the court's ruling, I moved back in with my parents temporarily, even though I didn't want to see my mother at all. I didn't want to do anything anymore. I just holed up in my room. Every night, I couldn't sleep a wink. The moment I closed my eyes, the image of Sarah laughing with Mark would vividly reappear. Her laughter, his contemptuous face, replayed in my mind like a broken record. My mind was constantly spinning. I couldn't focus on anything. At work, I was a ghost. My boss started to notice. I received a warning, and not long after, I was fired. 8 years that I dedicated to that job, and just because of this messed up situation, I lost everything. The feeling of failure, of helplessness, weighed on my shoulders like a boulder. I thought, this is it. I have nothing left. I turned to alcohol as a way to escape. I just drank and drank until I was completely drunk, oblivious to the world. Drank to make my mind stop thinking, stop obsessing. There were times when I was driving, I just wanted to press the gas pedal hard, not caring where I was going, not caring about the outcome. I didn't care about myself anymore. I locked myself in my room, not answering anyone's calls. My parents worried, knocking on the door, but I just pretended to be asleep. I didn't want to see anyone, didn't want to talk to anyone. I completely isolated myself. The obsession, it wouldn't let me go. Sarah and Mark, their images clung to my mind. I couldn't trust anyone anymore. Even my most loyal friends, the ones who stood by me, betrayed me. So who could I trust? I was like a wounded animal, wanting only to hide and fearing everything around me. I became an empty shell, devoid of emotion, without purpose. At this point, I thought my life couldn't get any worse. But no, fate, it seemed, wasn't done with me yet. After everything, one final, fatal blow struck. My grandmother. She was the strongest woman I'd ever known. She was always my rock, the one who loved and believed in me unconditionally. When she heard about what happened to me, she completely fell apart. I saw her grow distant and visibly frail each time she came to visit me. I knew she was hurting too, but I never imagined. A month after that damned divorce ruling, my grandmother suffered a stroke. I immediately rushed to the hospital and saw her lying there, motionless. I squeezed her hand, her frail, cold fingers. I called her name, but she didn't answer. The doctor shook his head, saying, "We're very sorry." My heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. I had lost my beloved grandmother. Just when I was at my weakest, my worst, the woman who loved me unconditionally also left me. More painful than 1,000 knife wounds, the burden of guilt weighed heavily on me. I kept thinking, was it because of me that she left? Was it because I was too weak, unable to protect my own happiness, that she had to endure this pain? I looked at Sarah, I looked at Mark, and I knew they had indirectly killed my grandmother. So, did Sarah and Mark pay for their transgressions? I cut ties with both of them completely, so I've only heard whispers from Laura. After our confrontation, Laura also went to court with Mark, and Laura won. It seems she got everything. Because of that, Mark had to move in with Sarah, but apparently the two of them couldn't live together for long. It's true what they say. Living together reveals all the flaws. Sharing a home, the two betrayers seemingly couldn't trust each other, and it sounds like Sarah grew tired of supporting Mark, leading to constant arguments. With Sarah's domineering personality, Mark was constantly belittled. When I heard that, despite of my anger, I didn't know why I didn't feel much of anything else. They'll have to face the consequences of their own actions, just as I had to pay the price for my misplaced trust by losing everything. Everything. I sank deep into that black hole of despair for a long time. I didn't know what I would do or where I would go. Everything was gone. Lost it all. I truly thought I'd never recover. But then, losing the old often makes space for better, new things. During this time, Laura and I talked often. We were both in the same boat, ruthlessly deceived and trampled, so it was easy to empathize. From not being particularly close, just exchanging pleasantries, we started sharing more and more with each other. And we both realized that we couldn't change the past. Life still had to go on, and we still had to live, no matter what we had been through. We decided to seek therapy together and join a gym. Physical activity has always been a great remedy for the mind. After all, there's a saying that I read somewhere on Reddit, motion before emotion. The recovery process, it was incredibly slow, my friends. There were days I just wanted to give up. But then I'd think of my grandmother, the satisfaction of those scoundrels, and Laura. I started focusing on myself. I learned to accept the painful truth, to learn to live with the scars. We couldn't make Sarah or Mark pay a fair price, but we could change our own futures.
The greatest revenge isn't about hurting them. It's not about trying to make them suffer. The real, most subtle revenge is simply living your own life well and being happier than they are. One day, Laura and I were shopping and we unexpectedly ran into Sarah in the parking lot. She looked gaunt and tired, her angelic halo completely gone. Seeing me with Laura, she was utterly shocked. Her eyes widened, fixated on us. Laura seemed not to notice. As for me, I just smiled faintly and gave her a slight nod before walking past. Yes, just keep moving forward. My life now, it's very different. I found a new job, a new place to live. I learned how to survive, how to stand on my own 2 feet after losing everything. I've been trying to rebuild everything from scratch, little by little. Some days I think I can't do it, but at least with Laura by my side, we're helping each other move forward. You might ask if we're something more? I'm not sure yet, because I know neither of us can easily open our hearts like that right now. But who knows, right? Sarah and Mark stole everything from me. They destroyed my life, turning it into ruins. They took the most important thing from me, my faith in love and friendship. But there's one thing they couldn't steal, my friends. That's my ability to get back up. I won't let them define me. I won't let their story be the final chapter of my life. I'm still here, still breathing, still living. My life now is mine, and I'm going to live it my way. I don't know what the future holds, but at least I know I've survived. And that, perhaps, is the greatest victory I could have right now. Thank you for listening to today's story from the Guilty Notes channel. If this story resonated with you, please like, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional, real-life stories and valuable lessons. See you in the next video.